So we're thrilled to have with us today Cathy Belk. Cathy is president of JumpStart, a role in which she has served since 2016, after having served in the roles of Chief Operating Officer and Chief Relationship Officer at JumpStart. She brought with her 20 years of experience in consumer and business marketing and business management, having been the Director of Innovation at American Greetings and serving in critical roles at Coca-Cola, Procter & Gamble, and Bank of America. Cathy grew up on a steady diet of biographies of successful women, placed in her hands by her mother, who was a teacher. And I think the seeds of empowerment that were planted early in her life, she continues to sow as she encourages women to feel empowered to start businesses of their own. Cathy wants every business owner to have a growth mindset, not just those who are in startup roles. And she is a key collaborator. She looks to other organizations to join with JumpStart to strengthen their work. And she is passionate about driving Cleveland to be the most inclusive city in the Midwest, and I would venture to say in the country. She is the mother of 2 teenage sons, a lover of the outdoors. If you know her, she's a woman of boundless energy and optimism, a proud member of the Leadership Cleveland class of 2012, and a valued member of the Cleveland Leadership Center board. We're pleased to welcome Cathy Belk. Cathy?
Well, Mary Ann, thank you so much. What a wonderful and flattering introduction that you just gave. And I'll start by saying the Cleveland Leadership Center is an incredible resource for Greater Cleveland. We know this in part because of all of you. Thank you for all joining in today. I think we are a city that is blessed with so many people who are civically engaged, who want to contribute, and who want to be leaders. And I noticed on the holding slide that we had, there was a comment that said, never before has leadership been more important, and I couldn't agree with that more. So I'm so grateful for the Leadership Center for being our champion of leadership development and of bringing leaders together to help us make our city everything that we want it to be. So thank you for this opportunity and for the warm welcome, Mary Ann. I am going to do just 10 minutes of quick overview about the work of JumpStart, and I wanted to really focus on the work of JumpStart this year because obviously this has been kind of a challenging year for all of us. I have a couple of slides that I'm going to use. So let's make sure that everybody can see those. And then I'm going to turn them off. I'm not planning to, I really appreciate that the request for everybody to turn on videos. Let's just make this as close to live as we possibly can. So everybody can see this? Can you see this? Okay, I see some head nods. So I'm going to move this over so I'm looking more at the camera. Thank you. Okay, so really quickly, I never assume anybody knows what JumpStart is, but I will say we have, as an example, incredible leadership in Cleveland, not just now, but back over several decades, because this organization was formed due to leadership. Leadership in Cleveland from the corporate sector, the private sector, the philanthropic sector, and the public sector came together and started this organization. And this organization—
I'm going to jump in real quick. The slides move to a different screen.
Oh, you can't see them. Okay. I'll put them back. See them now? Whoops. Yes? Good.
Yes,
okay,
good.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm not looking at them, so I'm going to keep trying to look at you, and I'll just refer back here every once in a while. So we're an organization founded by leadership who identified that we needed an organization, and this was in 2004, that would really help spur entrepreneurship as an economic driver in this region. And our mission really reflects that. So the mission of JumpStart is to, as a nonprofit, we have a mission, which is to unlock the full potential of diverse and ambitious entrepreneurs to help economically transform entire communities. So without belaboring every word here, there are a couple things that I think are really critical. The first is full potential, unlocking potential. Everybody has potential. Everybody who wants to be an entrepreneur can be an entrepreneur. We want to help you unlock that full potential that you have. Not everybody maybe will have an easy road. Entrepreneurship is a tough road full of hills and valleys, but we are your partner with that. along the way. The second part is diverse and ambitious entrepreneurs. We really care about the diversity of the people that we're serving in every way, sectors of business, type of business, the diversity of the owners of and co-founders of the business, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But the one thing they all have in common is this desire for something big. Something big, and that's that ambitious. The ambitious is you're going to be engaged, you're going to work on it, you're going to make this business to be the thing that you want it to be. That's really why we think those two words kind of go well together. The last thing I'll point out is around economically transforming entire communities. Certainly, our work is really about economic growth, and it's about having a vital greater Cleveland community. So about all parts of Cleveland being vital, all parts of our community being vital. We really believe that equity and having a more equitable outcome is important to our mission. So with that said, just a couple of little headlines on our work. You see here, we work with entrepreneurs. Our work to entrepreneurs is no cost, and we've worked with thousands of them. We've been open since 2004, but the data I have here is really just the last decade. So you can see thousands of them over the last decade. You can see the breakdown of our clients, almost 55% of them are women. Female entrepreneurs, and then almost half of our clients are Black or Latinx individuals who are seeking to grow businesses. That are two aspects of that way that we measure our own reach and being diverse in the entrepreneurs we're serving. We also have the metrics of outcomes, because it's very important that we're delivering that economic growth that is in our mission. And one of the measures of that is jobs, the jobs that those entrepreneurs are creating. Because as you create a job, you create family stability, you create income, and that not only addresses some of the challenges of poverty, but that also addresses what we want, which is a vital community where lots of people want to come and work. The other measures that we have here, economic impact, this is a way to actually demonstrate the value that entrepreneurs are creating for an economy. We measure that every year. We have a private sector consultant who takes all the data of all of the entrepreneurs that we and our partners support and puts that into a model and identifies how that impacts our economy. So this last year, 2019, $1.3 billion in impact on the Ohio economy of the small businesses and startups in this area. So you should be really proud that we live in an area that has such a vibrant entrepreneurial ecosystem. And then the last is, one of the things that we do is invest money directly, primarily into tech startups as an investment. We've invested $57 million. So that's another critical aspect of our work, only because capital is what makes entrepreneurs really able to grow. So with that said, I mentioned to you, really what have we been doing in the last 6 months of our work. We've been doing all the things that we've always been doing. We provide services that are no cost to entrepreneurs. We provide access to money. Sometimes we invest that money ourselves. And then we connect people to the other resources that they need. And we always work in partnership with others. Thank you, Marianne, for saying that so importantly right up front, because that is absolutely critical. We cannot do this ourselves. I mean, there's just no way that the work that JumpStart is doing can have the impact that it has without working together with others. And we have 25 formal partners, and we have, I like to think, tens, if not hundreds of informal partners all working together to try to create these outcomes. So when we do measurement of some of our outcomes, we do measure not only our work, but that of some of the partners that we work with, some of those formal partners. And what you see here is the first thing that we did is make ourselves even more available for entrepreneurs starting on March 13th. I mean, it was really sort of that middle of March timeframe, and I think of that because that was Friday the 13th, and I'll certainly never forget that date. But in terms of the economy sort of shutting down, I think that happened starting Monday, March 16th. And at that time, our team and that of our partners were available nonstop for phone calls that were part business guider, what do you do with the various business situations that come up, part emotional support, and part problem solving. And you can see more than 23,000 hours were spent over the last 4 months, which was across about 50 people. So if you do the math, you can see we've got incredibly dedicated people between ourselves and our partners in wanting to serve entrepreneurs and help them one-on-one. We also, of course, wanted to scale that support. So we had 2 webinars a week that we were running. These webinars, one of the great things about this webinar series, and you can see it if you go to the link there, you can see a whole channel of all the webinars that were run, was that they were really designed specifically for the challenges that small businesses and entrepreneurs would have due to COVID. So the very first one that we did was a team of mentors. These are volunteer past entrepreneurs who are willing to give back and want to give back to the community. They got on and said, hey, I lived through 3 other different recessions or 3 other times of deep difficulty in my business. Here's what I learned. So again, in this idea of we all have to pitch in and help each other, and we have a community that is so collaborative, having that expertise of people who have been there and done that, that was a perfect example of the kind of webinars that we were doing. And you see more than 1,500 people saw them at the time, and now of course they're up and anybody can watch them. We also added a number of new supports, bilingual supports, where entrepreneurs from our communities whose primary language is Spanish are able to talk with people in Spanish about what to do about growing their businesses. We also put together some private companies. Let's find some small businesses and connect them and pay them to support other businesses during this difficult time. So in light of all this, I had mentioned to you that capital was critical. And I want everybody here to know of this incredibly impressive community collaboration around capital for small businesses. So we call these stabilization funds. There were a number of these funds, all of which sprung up since mid-March and have either been deployed or are wrapping up being deployed since that time. But these stabilization funds are funds, they are grant funds. They would give a business between $2,500 and $10,000. So it is money to help a business stabilize, to help a business retool, to pivot, to figure out where to go. And every one of the funds that these counties put together is one that has provided money for many times the very smallest, the most fragile businesses in our communities. So you can see I've got here a list of the locations. These are not the list of the funds. Almost every one of these funds had at least 2 partners, if not 5 or more partners, who all work together to say, let's put a pool of money together and get these grants out the door as fast as possible to businesses. We were a contributor to some of those. JumpStart was. You can see our total contribution was $500,000, but as an indicator of the strength of our community and our commitment to small businesses, you see the actual total in these funds was over $10 million. We had 6,400 applicants. There are more still in process, so this data is getting updated every day, with over 2,000 businesses who were able to receive these grant dollars. So there's a couple other things I guess I'll say about that. The first is more than 2,000 is a lot. More than 6,400 was what was needed. So small businesses need support right now. They've always needed it, and they will need it. They continue to need it, particularly those that are youngest and in their earliest days. So we continue to be a resource to them. Our partners continue to be resources to them, and we're going to continue to come up with ideas like the stabilization funds or other ideas so that we can meet the needs of our community. So that was it for my prepared comments. I'm really excited to take questions and start a discussion. And please know that I told Rachel that given the length of time of this, I'm always happy to have discussions after this as well.
Great, Cathy, thank you so much. And for those on the call, feel free to put your questions in the chat box. And to begin, Cathy, as you think about the small businesses and the entrepreneurs that JumpStart has been working with over the past few months, what have been some of the biggest challenges they faced, but also what are some of those really new opportunities or the best opportunities that have also arisen during the time?
Yeah, sure. So the first thing I think of when I think of the challenge is that, you know, there was the rapidness of the change. You know, entrepreneurs are really used to adapting quickly. They're so agile, and they're used to being agile. This is very common. But the changes that occurred were so deep and so dramatic, and I think happened so quickly that there was certainly a time in mid to late March when people just needed a minute to catch their breath. I certainly felt like I needed to do that too, as well as myself with my family. And, because this was so deep and pervasive, it impacted people's not only businesses, but also families too. So that was the first thing. The other opportunity / challenge that was really important that a lot of small businesses reached out to us and to our partners on was the government funding. I mean, PPP loans, our government was putting money out the door for businesses, and that process was one that was new to everybody involved and, required a sort of a lot of comfort with ambiguity as it was. Details continued to be rolled out over several weeks. So, I use that as an example of a broader thing, which is our entrepreneurs, they're so opportunistic. They're always looking for the thing that they can do to help them. And so this was just one specific one, but that continues to be something that they're thinking about. What's the next challenge I should be thinking about, or what's the way I can turn my business and make it more powerful? In terms of other opportunities, we have seen, of course, that some businesses are in spaces that are even more relevant now than maybe they were 6 months ago. Businesses that are working in anything related to digital communications. If you're a business that's really good at planning events virtually or has some different technologies that allow for networking online. I've seen some new businesses springing up with those kinds of technologies. Obviously, that would be really relevant. Anybody who's able to provide experiences to people that they were used to having live and are now needing to have over a more digital format, those kinds of businesses too are able to really have a new market. So we are working with many of our companies to think about, in a new world where more digital adaptation in your product is important, how do you build that in? And I think that's one of the biggest themes in terms of what small businesses are thinking about now.
Cathy, can you share with us a little bit more about the area in which JumpStart serves? So and the eligibility. So how can someone access services, and what regions do you serve?
Yeah, I'll start with the geography. So we started as a Northeast Ohio focused organization, and that was the 21 counties of Northeast Ohio. So essentially, when we started, we went as far west as Sandusky, down to the Mansfield area, and then over to the Pennsylvania line. So anybody living in that geography. Since that time, we have now partnered more closely with the Northwest Ohio market. So just think, if you think of Mansfield and you draw a line, a horizontal line from Indiana to Pennsylvania, everybody north of that is a client, a potential client for us or our partners. And everybody is welcome to come provide information to us on our website, and you will be, we'll connect with you on that. The one thing that I mentioned earlier that's really important in light of this question is that we work with partners. And one of the things that's really important in a partnership model is everybody works with partners a different way and has different specialties. So when you ask about eligibility of small businesses, we want to connect with as many as possible, but we might not always be the right partner for that business. We, for example, are, one of our specialties is helping companies access capital or investing capital. Some partners of ours work with companies and they say our expertise is really around building financial projections. Some people say we're really, Magnet, the organization Magnet, is really good at helping people who want to design a manufacturing ready prototype. If you've kind of got a business already but you're trying to build a new product, Magnet might be a better partner. So one of the things that we do think is important is for everybody who walks in our door, our job is to get you to the right place. And that right place could be one of many different places, 20 plus different partners. So it really depends on the need of the business as to where is the best partner for them.
So where might we be able to find thriving incubators for entrepreneurs to perch and learn from other entrepreneurs?
Oh, that's such a good question. And, if we were a world where people were actively going into physical buildings, you would see a lot more energy and visibility of where these places are, but they are all over. So JumpStart does not actually have a physical space where entrepreneurs are located, but one of the places that we recommend people go a lot to participate and work side by side with the entrepreneurs is the Tech Hive, which is physically located on Euclid Avenue, right across the street from where our building is. So it's around 71st, Euclid and 71st on the north side of the street. There are other places like that all over the city, all over Akron. There's a place in Canton. There's many. So I think I would be totally happy offline for anybody to tell me, where they're located, and I can recommend somewhere that's close by.
So when we think about access to resources, how does JumpStart ensure equitable access for individuals to the resources available?
Yeah, so that's a great question. Equitable access for us means that every entrepreneur who comes in the door is somebody who we provide, the same type of discussion, the same type of understanding, the same type of connectivity to. But in addition, we need to make sure that we're not just waiting for people to come in the door. And so a huge part of our work around equitable access is going into all of the communities in Greater Cleveland, the communities in some of our geography where we haven't necessarily seen people walk in the door. We need to be meeting people where they are geographically and meeting people where they are in the development of their business. And so outreach is critically important. Partners for us in outreach include organizations like CDCs, which are community development corporations or sort of neighborhood-based organizations working with businesses. We also go to community centers. We go to cultural organizations where people are coming together. They might not all be entrepreneurs, but they know entrepreneurs, or there might be a couple of them in a room. Even digital, online chat rooms or online gatherings where people have something in common. It is our job to get out there and to make ourselves known and to make our partners known so everybody is able to feel not only that they are aware of it, but that they feel welcome and invited to participate in that community.
With all that is going on, what advice would you give small business owners, entrepreneurs, as they are trying to navigate what the world looks like right now?
Yeah. So, it would be pretty easy for me to say, hey, find a partner, and I mean an organization like a JumpStart as your partner in doing your work. But what I want to say that's a sort of an addendum to that is find an entrepreneur. Find a community of entrepreneurs. It can be one person, it can be a small group, it can be a big group. Find other people like yourself, because entrepreneurs really get what other entrepreneurs are going through. It is a very unique thing to be the leader, to champion an idea that maybe other people don't understand, to take all the risks associated with doing that, whether those are financial, intellectual, emotional, and having a peer or a group of peers who can support you in that, who understand that, who can help you with that, and who can be potential customers or partners or investors, that is a critically important part, I think, of helping you navigate your way forward. So of course the nonprofits in town like JumpStart are here to help you, and I hope you'll come and access our support as well. But having that peer group is just as important, if not more so.
As we look at long-term impact of what's currently happening, especially with the financial pressures that are occurring, what impact might those have on future entrepreneurs?
Well, entrepreneurs are people who can see an opportunity. I think that's really what one of the things that is really similar among all entrepreneurs is that they see opportunity that maybe others don't see. And so when you think about the changes that our world is going through right now, entrepreneurs are seeing some of those opportunities that maybe I don't see. I work for an entrepreneurial organization, but many of our entrepreneurs are envisioning a future that wouldn't maybe be obvious to me right out the door. So I think that's one of the things that makes them unique. And that's why it's hard for me to specifically answer that question. I think there's so many. There's hundreds of opportunities that are out there, but it takes really that special person to be able to identify what they might be, and that there's enough of a market to create a real business out of it.
And as you look ahead for JumpStart, where do you see the organization in 5 years?
Well, that's a really great question. We're an organization that changes very rapidly. And what we were doing when we started in 2004, while that continues to be a part of what we're doing today and a critical part of it, we have also morphed quite a bit and need to morph as the context in which we're operating changes and as our partners change. The one thing that I can say that I know will be a part of our work in 5 years is that we will be doing it with partners. I continue to come back to this theme because it is absolutely critical. The only way 1 + 1 = 5 is if you work in partnership with other people. I mentioned to you that one of the things I think we're sort of specialized in is capital. We have a number of partners that we work with in wanting to make sure that there's enough capital in the area for entrepreneurs. And that's certainly something that I think is critically important now and in the next 5 years. But that one thing that I think is the most important is that we are working together with other people so that we can create much greater impacts for our community than we could do so by ourselves.
We have time for one more question. So I know many of us on the call today are very interested in supporting the work of JumpStart and the businesses that you support. So how can those on the call become involved and support your work? And also the question specifically around, is there a directory for the businesses that you are working with that people can access to then help support?
Well, that's a really nice offer. I welcome everybody being a champion of small businesses and startups in this community. And thank you for your interest in doing that. I think the first place to start is to follow JumpStart's Twitter, which is JumpStart Inc., or come to our website and sign up to get emails. We always use our email communication to tell stories of entrepreneurs. And I think one of the most important things is ways to start is to know who they are. Who are these amazing people and what are the amazing businesses that are here in this region? And we will tell those stories through the emails and through highlighting those on the Twitter feed. So if you start there and then you get more interested, then come to events, start to see the events of ourselves and our partners. And then you can reach out to me and we'll talk about where you can take your next step, whether it's going to be as an entrepreneur yourself, an entrepreneurial supporter, or an investor.
Well, Cathy, thank you so much for sharing the important work of JumpStart and supporting the entrepreneurs and small businesses in Cleveland. And for everyone in the follow-up email, be sure to share the link to JumpStart's website. And if you have additional questions for Cathy, please reach out to me and I will help with the follow-up. And with that, welcome back, Mary Ann.
Thanks, Rachel. Cathy, thank you so much. I know that we clearly have some budding entrepreneurs and some more established entrepreneurs on this call, and it's your energy and optimism and enthusiasm, passion for this work that will continue to fuel our ecosystem in Northeast Ohio. So thank you for all that you do.